Part 4, this is the fun stuff. So before we get into housings, we will talk about mounting. This is a TV MP adapter, TV MP. I really like using these because it has a 750 or 5/8 a baby receiver, so it can pop onto any baby stand, like the Beefy Babies, a C stand. You take off the head and the arm, or you can take this knuckle off. And now it is a 2K spigot. We call it 2K in Canada, or it's a junior in the United States. So this is a TV MP. I believe it was from Impact. They're fairly cheap, but this is a mounting option that you can use, and then it will work seamlessly for products or for stands in the film industry. Some other options: you could use a 5/8 pin, or it's a baby pin in the US. You could also just get a receiver, but I find the TV MP is actually cheaper than getting a straight up receiver. Same with the 1/8 pin. This is also junior in the US. Again, cheaper to just buy the TV MP. If you're going to design a yoke, I would use the TV MP. A yoke that, say here is your fixture. You would have a yoke. That's a very bad drawing, and then the TV MP right here, and then your stand, right, and then maybe a couple risers, like that. So if you're making a yoke, use the TV MP. If not, if that's a little too complicated, a very easy design. I don't have a spare one. This is a baby plate. So if you don't have, or if it's hard to find a yoke, very easily to get a baby plate. It's flat. You can mount this to any surface that's flat with either a bolt or screw. I used rivets with a hand riveter, and then this can go right onto a C-stand. And I find that they're fairly cheap, around $10, and that is a baby plate. Sometimes it's called a wall plate. In Canada, they're called 750 wall plate. Basically, anything that has a 7/8 round rod, which is this, or a receiver, will be able to work with C-stands, C-stands or 750 stands. If it has a 1/8 pin junior, then you can then it'll work with Hollywood combo, triple risers, mambo combos, sky highs, high rollers. If it is a 1/8 pin. So if you want a fixture that, if you want to make a custom fixture that will last a long time in your cinematography or gaffing career, go with one of these options. If you're already a working professional in the film and TV world, then you will know that, okay, this is definitely a much smarter option. Then it's way easier to rig with the ecosystem of grip gear that's usually in a truck. Okay, so then what can the actual fixture be? This can be anything. Here is the second fixture that I ever made. I never use this thing anymore because I didn't know about high quality LEDs at the time. This was 6 years ago, so it's a super cheap LED that I ran off of two 9-volt batteries. But what is this? This is a cake pan from the dollar store. You can go to Walmart, you can buy a cake pan, and you can put the LEDs right inside. This is a piece of grid cloth just to soften the light and make it a single source, but a cake pan works very nicely as a housing for a fixture. This is a much newer one. It has much high quality, the quality LEDs are much higher. This is all daylight, and it produces the equivalency to maybe a 200 watt pocket par, or maybe a 175 pocket par. So at 6 feet, it's equivalent to a 500 watt tungsten source, but it's a lot softer and the beam angle is a lot wider. It has just a simple rotary, so if I ever want to use DMX, I'm unable to, unless I swap this guy out. The power supply is a 60 watt. It is a 50 watt fixture, but the power supply that I gave it is a 60 watt power supply. This is a knockoff HLG. This is not a Meanwell HLG. This is just a knockoff brand. And then I have a cable on it that goes right into wall power. So when I use this on set with other crews, it's very simple. Pop it onto a C-stand, any grip head. Any grip head. And this is a cake pan. The design of this cake pan is not like your standard Walmart or consumer cake pan that you buy from the dollar store, Walmart, or IKEA. This is a cake pan for the baking cake industry. Which is nice because it has these lips. You can put some Velcro, but it's square. Nothing fancy about this design at all. This is a cake pan that I am using for another design of an LED, and I cut out the back so I can hide all the cables, and then I still have access though to the dimming and the DMX settings. The LEDs are stuck onto a sheet of aluminum. So if you wanted a really light or easy fixture, maybe you don't need this. You just put that baby plate or 750 wall plate on the back of here, and then you have a very thin profile light. But I'm working on sticking this into here. And then also with RGB, so it's going to be bicolor plus RGB. Aluminum is something that's very good to stick your LEDs to because it dissipates a lot of heat. So the LEDs do warm up, and if you have a piece of aluminum to help dissipate that heat, it will increase the life of your LEDs. It doesn't have to be a flat sheet of aluminum like that. It can be a piece of bar aluminum. This is just from your local hardware store. It's a 1-inch bar aluminum. You can stick maybe a couple rows of LEDs onto this. Maybe put a baby plate or TVMP maybe in the middle, and then you could stick this on a C-stand and just have like a light bar, maybe use it as production design or something, and your LEDs will be stuck to a rigid surface, so you don't have to worry about them getting damaged or anything like that. Or maybe this is just a square tube. You could also get a round tube, but this is just 1 inch square. It's currently 6 feet long, so it's very long. But if I wanted to, I could stick a lot of LEDs to this and then make a very large soft source that's 360 degrees. There is endless possibilities of fixtures. A lot of people, when they make their first fixture, they might use a round. This is just a piece of PVC pipe, and the LEDs are wrapped around it. You throw this into a China ball from IKEA, and now these are daylight LEDs. So you throw this into a China ball from IKEA, and then you have a daylight China ball, and you could do an RGB one. You could do anything. And you don't have to have like a small piece like this. You could have a huge piece. You could have a even smaller piece. You could have it wider. You could make a balloon style light. Anything. this is a hat. Duh. If you wanted to, you could cut a piece of LED, run the wires through the hat, out through the back, and make a belt clip for the battery and controller for the actor. And if you're doing something outside in the sun, you have a little piece of LED like this that is hidden just enough to you know, brighten up the actor's face. So something like this can be super useful, because a lot of times if you're shooting outside in the bright hot sunlight, and even, you know, you have a silk and other things, sometimes, you know, you just need a little bit more light to lighten up the actor's face. So a small piece like this that is you know, hidden out of the way could really you know, help out a lot. This consumes hardly any wattage, just a small piece like this. And to find out that wattage, I would just take the watt per meter and divide it. So if the cuttable length is, say, cuttable every 10 centimeters, then you know that there are 10 cuttable length in 1 meter. So you just divide the watt per meter by the cuttable lengths, and then you'll get the wattage per cuttable length. So this little bit right here is 1.2, 1.2 ish watts. So that's nothing. You could run that off of like a couple AA batteries with a boost converter, stick that through a controller and put it to 50% or something, because you don't need it to be that bright, just a little, and you're good to go. Last but not least, an umbrella. I know this seems like a silly thing. I have not made one yet. This is an idea that I got recently. But if you take a black umbrella, this one is super large, so it's going to be hard to film this. But if this was all black, you could put LED strips, something like this, and maybe, you know, fill these gaps a little bit, so you could have, like, you know, a bicolor umbrella light. And then the really nice thing is this umbrella, it's very large. It hardly fits in my room. And then you have this source that's really wide, really soft, very large, and it folds up into such a small package. Definitely have the wires running to the stem of the umbrella and then running down the stem of the umbrella, so then you can fold it up. I would definitely recommend using waterproof LEDs, as this is a flexible fixture. So you don't damage them when you're opening and closing the umbrella. But a solid black umbrella with a bunch of LEDs on it, you'll have a huge, soft, large source for anything, really. This is a piece of chloroplast. This is white. This is the same stuff that Light Gear uses in their light mats. So you can make a panel using a piece of chloroplast. You use a wall plate, you know, a 750, a baby wall plate on the back. All your LEDs on this, and then you have a really light, thin panel, pretty much exactly how Light Gear makes theirs. So hopefully with all of this stuff, you could use a piece of cloth, you could use a piece of rubber, you could use a piece of vinyl. So hopefully with everything I talked about, it inspires you to go, oh yeah, I could make something. You can retrofit your Kinos. If you have a 4-foot Kino and you're like, should I buy some Quasar tubes? Well, maybe consider how much and how much work it would be to rip out you know, the reflector and the harness for that 4-foot 4-bank, and just stick some LEDs on it. Then maybe, you know, you can get like RGB and tungsten and daylight on your old 4-foot 4-bank Kino, and the list goes on to things you can make. So hopefully, yeah, hopefully everything I mentioned gives you some inspiration. You know, you can use a notebook, and basically anything. Anyways, catch you in part 4 or 5. Yeah.